Israeli air forces struck multiple sites in southern Lebanon late on Monday and into the early hours of Tuesday, including targets in the third largest city of Sidon. A missile struck a three-story building located in the commercial district of the coastal city, leveling it to the ground. There were no reports of deaths, but local officials say one person sustained injuries and was transported to hospital for treatment. Israel said on Monday following strikes in southern and eastern Lebanon that it was targeting sites belonging to Hezbollah and Hamas. The attacks come just days before Lebanon's government convenes to discuss Hezbollah's disarmament, part of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal with Israel late in 2024. The Lebanese army began the process last year and said that all areas close to the border with Israel will be clear of the group's armed presence.
Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro pleaded not guilty to drug charges in his first appearance in a U.S. court in New York on Monday, just days after being captured from Caracas in a shock U.S. military operation. Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also entered a not guilty plea on similar charges. Court records say Maduro has retained attorney Barry Joel Poyak, best known for representing WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. The judge ordered both to remain behind bars and set a new hearing date of March the 17th. Meanwhile, protesters gathered outside the courthouse on Monday to denounce the Trump administration's actions in Venezuela. Many chanted, "No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air, US out of everywhere." A public 25-page indictment accuses Maduro and others of working with drug cartels to ship thousands of tons of cocaine into the US. They could face life in prison if convicted. The indictment alleges Venezuelan officials worked with the Tren de Aragua gang, but a U.S. intelligence assessment published in April found no coordination with the Caracas regime. The arrest's legality has sparked a serious backlash and diplomatic crisis around the world.
The European Union believes that the removal of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro could represent an opportunity for a democratic transition led by the opposition. On Monday, the European Commission ruled out recognizing Delcy Rodriguez, Maduro's immediate successor and the interim president, as a legitimate head of state. For the Commission, the transition must include Maria Corina Machado, leader of the opposition and last year's Nobel Peace Prize winner, as well as Edmundo González, candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Both live in exile.
They have also led in 2024 the Venezuelan people to peacefully exercise their right to vote. We have millions of Venezuelans that have voted for change, and they have supported Edmundo González by a significant majority according to what we had available. So the next steps are about dialogue towards democratic transition, which must include Edmundo González and Maria Corina Machado.
The European position is also at odds with that of US President. Donald Trump has claimed he is in charge of Venezuela after Saturday's military intervention. Furthermore, he declared that Machado did not have the support or respect to run the country.
The Prime Minister of Denmark called on U.S. President Donald Trump to stop threatening the annexation of Greenland. Mette Frederiksen wrote in a statement on Sunday that it makes, quote, absolutely no sense for the U.S. to need to take over Greenland or any of the three countries in the Danish kingdom. Trump has repeatedly expressed his interest in taking ownership of the mineral-rich Arctic nation, citing grave national security concerns.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
Greenland Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen slammed Trump's renewed proposition, asserting that his country is, quote, not an object of superpower rhetoric. The exchange comes after the U.S. carried out a major military operation against Venezuela on Saturday, instituting a regime change, and securing the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife.
European Union agriculture ministers will meet on Wednesday for key political talks on the Mercosur deal that could lead to its vote on Friday. The deal aims to create a free trade area with Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. More details on continued support for farmers' income in the next Common Agricultural Policy budget are also expected. Germany and Spain have been pushing for a quick endorsement in order to access new markets at a time of geoeconomic tensions. Meanwhile, Italy and France succeeded in postponing a crucial vote in order to protect their farmers, who worry they will be unable to compete with imports coming from Latin America. To be implemented, the deal needs support from a qualified majority of EU states. Wednesday's agenda includes pesticide limits for EU imports, with France pushing for equal production standards. The country is facing an agricultural crisis, with farmers protesting the Mercosur deal, as well as the government's handling of a cattle disease outbreak.
The European Commission has announced it is looking into cases of explicit images of young girls generated by Grok. The AI chatbot integrated into the social media platform X has introduced a paid feature known as Spicy Mode last summer.
This is not spicy, this is illegal, this is appalling, this is disgusting. This is how we see it. And this has no place in Europe.
On Sunday, in response to growing anger, the social media platform said the images had been removed from the platform and that the users involved had been banned. In December, X was fined €120 million under the EU's Digital Services Act over its handling of account verification checkmarks and its advertising policy.
I think X is very well aware that we're very serious about DSA enforcement. They will remember the fine that they have received from us back in December, so we encourage all companies to be compliant.
The Commission also referenced an episode last November in which Grok generated Holocaust denial content.
Swiss authorities say all 40 people who died in a fire in a bar at a ski resort on New Year's Eve have been identified. The final 16 victims were identified late on Sunday, according to a representative of Valais Police, who responded to the tragedy, described as one of the worst in Switzerland's recent history. Some 26 of the 40 victims who lost their lives were teenagers, with the youngest being two 14-year-olds from France and Switzerland. The Alpine country is set to hold a national day of mourning this week. According to local health officials, close to 120 people were also injured in the blaze in Montana, with many sustaining severe burns and wounds. Early investigation indicates that sparklers were the likely cause of the fire. Police on Sunday said they were investigating the two people who ran the bar on suspicion of homicide by negligence. According to the police, a criminal inquiry was also launched into negligent bodily harm and negligently causing a fire. A strong earthquake shook western Japan on Tuesday, but no major damage or life-threatening injuries were reported. But according to the Fire and Disaster Management Agency, there were several reports of minor injuries. There was no risk of a tsunami from the inland quake, centered about 10 kilometers deep, authorities said. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, the magnitude 6.4 quake struck in the Shimane Prefecture in northwestern Japan, the prefectural capital of Matsue, and nearby cities, including some in neighboring Tottori Prefecture, were among the most strongly shaken. Authorities also announced delays and suspension of bullet trains in the region. Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area of seismic faults surrounding the Pacific Ocean, one of the world's most earthquake-prone regions.
A ver, yo creo que el pádel es un deporte, ¿vale?, que es fácil no aprender a jugar, sino jugar en sí. Es decir, como tiene 4 componentes, es relativamente fácil pasar la bola de un campo a otro, y como realmente existen también paredes, tienes la oportunidad de que rebote la pelota y no la pierdes, como en el tenis. Y como estamos 4, no depende solamente de una persona, sino depende de los 4 componentes. Aquí en España hay un boom increíble, sobre todo porque los mejores deportistas del mundo son españoles y argentinos a día de hoy. Entonces en España se siguen creando clubes, y a día de hoy se necesitan muchas más instalaciones y muchas más pistas.
Se parece mucho a cuando juego a las palas en la playa. Me recuerda a eso, y eso para mí es un recuerdo bonito. Entonces me gusta esa sensación como del aire libre, el ruido que hace la pelota contra la pala. Me recuerda mucho a esos momentos de playa con la familia en verano.